Vande Guru Nisha Bhakta Nisha Nisha Vatarakan Tat Prakasham Tat Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Sangyakam Grantira Kori Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinira Smarana Hoya Vigana Vinashana Anayasa Sapal Nija Vanchita Purana Jai Jai Kripa Moy Jagatira Nath Sarva Jagatira Kuru Shubha Drishtipad Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear worshipful devotees, thank you so much for your kind association. We are reading Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta by Śrīla Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and we read till text number 105 yesterday. Sorry I couldn't join, but thank you. Prabhu, Sudhir Prabhu, and Prabir Prabhu for reading together and helping others as well. So now we'll start with 106. So just to give a brief background, till text number 89 to 95, I think. Yeah, 84 to 95. Is the discussion about Radharani. 96 to 100 is basically that Krishna and Radha are one. Radha Krishna Aiche Sada Ekai Swarupa Lila Rasa Aswadit Dhari Dui Rupa. So many nice verses are there. Radha Purna Shakti Krishna Purna Shaktiman. Dui vastu bhedanai shastra praman. This verse comes multiple times as well. So basically they are one, but till text number 196 to 100, that's a discussion. And from 101 onwards to 118 is discussion about Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure, the reservoir of all the rasas, Rasika Shekhara. So now we'll read about the Supreme Lord. Because to understand, and why are we reading about all this? To understand Lord Chaitanya. And how can we understand Lord Chaitanya if we don't understand who is Radharani or who is Krishna and how they are one and same? So that's Lord Chaitanya. Radhikara bhava murti prabhura antara se bhave sukha dukha utthe nirantara. Radhikara bhava murti prabhura antara se bhave sukha dukha utthe nirantara. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. The heart of Lord Chaitanya is the image of Sri Radhika's emotions. Thus the feelings of pleasure and pain arise constantly therein. Purport: Lord Chaitanya's heart was full of the feelings of Srimati Radharani, and his appearance resembled hers. Swarup Damodar has explained his attitude as Radha Bhava Murti. Radha Bhava Murti. The attitude of Radharani. One who engages in the sense gratification on the material platform can hardly understand Radha Bhava, but one who is freed from the demands of sense gratification can understand it. Radha Bhava must be understood from the Goswamis, those who are actually the controllers of the senses. From such authorized sources, it is to be known that the attitude of Srimati Radharani is the highest perfection of conjugal love, which is the highest of the 5 transcendental mellows, and it is the complete perfection of love of Krishna. These transcendental affairs can be understood on 2 platforms. One is called elevated and the other is called super elevated. The loving affairs exhibited in Dwarka are the elevated platform or form. The super elevated position is reached in the manifestations of the pastimes of Vrindavan. The attitude of Lord Chaitanya is certainly super elevated. From the life of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, an intelligent person engaged in the pure devotional service can understand that he always felt separation from Krishna within himself. He always felt separation from Krishna within himself. In that separation, he sometimes felt that he had found Krishna and was enjoying the meeting. The significance of the separation and meeting is very specific. If someone tries to understand the exalted position of Lord Chaitanya without knowing this, he is sure to misunderstand it. One must first become fully self-realized. Otherwise, one may misidentify the Lord as Nagara, the enjoyer of the damsels of Vraja, thus committing the mistake of rasa, bhas, or overlapping understanding. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Vrajabara Nagara. Yashamati Nandana Vrajabara Nagara. Nagar means enjoyer here. And we know the story of Lord Chaitanya, that how he has the emotions of Srimati Radharani. And what are those emotions? Sei bhava sukha dukha. Sukha and dukha. Of course, how can the Supreme Lord have dukha? But ultimately it's the joy, the vipralamba and the sambhoga. So there is transcendental joy and transcendental sadness. Utte nirantar, in the heart, those emotions, in the Radharani's heart, and separation from Krishna, those emotions constantly rise. Prabhupada is warning us here that sometimes some so-called devotees take all these things very, very cheaply. And even at the time of Lord Chaitanya, he would say gopi, 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 and some people, before sannyas, that some people would take him very, very cheaply and misunderstand him. As Prabhupada is saying, they're thus committing the mistake of rasa bhasa. So the mood of Radharani is super elevated mood. Prabhupada is using the word Radha Bhava or Radha Bhava Murti. So Lord Chaitanya comes in this Murti, the madness of love, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart is the image of Radhika's emotions here. Feeling of transcendental joy and transcendental dukkha in separation. So tears would flow in tears of ecstasy and the joy of ecstasy. So very, very transcendental. An ordinary person who is not self-realized, they cannot understand. And therefore people would misunderstand him. And still till date, people misunderstand Krishna. Hey, how come he is right, the enjoyer of the damsels of Vraja? Why is Krishna dancing with gopis? Why is Krishna, so all these questions are still in the minds of millions of people, right? Because we see from our own lens. If we see from our own lens, our own senses, which are corrupted, polluted, filled with lust, anger, greed, then we will see the whole world with that vision. And we will see the Supreme Lord also with that vision as ordinary mundane person. Therefore, one has to first become Goswami, as Prabhupada is mentioning. So one becomes Goswami or self-realized, the controller of sense, then one can understand with a transcendental divine vision that we're not talking about some ordinary person, we're talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any other comments anyone has? Okay, I'll read the next verse. So text number 107. Not sure if everyone got chance yesterday, so if anyone hasn't got, maybe that devotee can read first.
Okay, then Prabhu, I can read.
Yes, Maharaj, please.
Dandat Pranam devotees. Shesha Lilaya Prabhura Krishna Vira Ham Unmala Brahma Maya Steshtad Ara Pralapa Maya Vada. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the final portion of his pastimes, Lord Chaitanya was obsessed with the madness of separation from Lord Krishna. He acted in erroneous ways and talked deliriously. Purport: Lord Śrī Caitanya exhibited the highest stage of the feelings of a devotee in separation from the Lord. The exhibition was sublime because he was completely perfect in the feelings of separation. Materialists, however, cannot understand this. Sometimes materialistic scholars think he was diseased or crazy. Their problem is that they always engage in material sense gratification and can never understand the feelings of the devotees and the Lord. Materialists are most abominable in their ideas. They think that they can enjoy directly perceivable gross objects by their senses and that they can similarly deal with the transcendental features of Lord Chaitanya. But the Lord is understood only in pursuance of the principles laid down by the Goswamis. Headed by Sarup Damodar, doctrines like those of the Nadiya Nagaris is a class of so-called devotees are never presented by authorized persons like Sarup Damodar or the six Goswamis. The ideas of the Gauranga Nagaris are simply a mental concoction and they are completely on the mental platform. So here it's mainly focusing on how these leelas can be completely misinterpreted, misunderstood. There can be concoction and which does happen, and it's reminds us again and again how fortunate we are to get pure philosophy from Srila Prabhupada. And this Chaitanya Nagaris, Prabhu, I would like to hear more from you about it. Or thank you very much. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji, for this wonderful verse. So we know the Apasiddhanta Dvantaharini. Just reading the Pranam mantra. Pranam mantra. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Vijayashmati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namini Shrivashubhanavi Devi Kripa Daiti Kripa Padaya Krishna Samanda Vijnana Daini Kripa Madhuri Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigra. Where is the word Appa? Oh yes, here. Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvantaharini. So we know the time after Lord Chaitanya left, there were certain dark periods in the Gaudiya Vaishnava history. And to share this so you all can see. Namaste Gauravani Srimurta Yadinatharini Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvantaharini. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, referring to God, Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya, who are the deliverer of the fallen souls, Dinatarini, the deliverer of the fallen. You do not tolerate any statement which is against the devotional teachings of against the teaching of devotional service enunciated by Śrīla Rupa Goswami. So all these, Śrīla Gaur Kishore, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his great son, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they uprooted. There were a lot of apasiddhanta or so-called religion. Sakhi Beki, Gaura Nagari, Nadia Nagari, men dressing as women, saying Gopi, Gopi, all these, there were over dozens of apasiddhantas, which, and the common masses just follow without understanding the deep science and the philosophy behind it. And of course, there was significant time lapse when the Goswamis and at the time of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at least 300 years had passed from that time. So there was significant time lapse also, and a lot of people had forgotten about Lord Chaitanya, or just apasiddhantas were prevalent, in short, and this Gaudiya culture was not understood or in the proper spirits, and was considered very low class or cheap, in short. But Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur revived that, and they apasiddhanta duhanta harini. They destroyed the apasiddhantas, and they re-established the pure teachings of the Goswami. So therefore, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur is referred to as the seventh Goswami. So therefore, it is very, very important for us to understand the teachings. First, be qualified to understand the right teaching, and the qualification is sincerity and of sadhana, purity of oneself through following the principles, sense control, the regulative principles, etc. And then trying our best to follow the principles. Then one will be able to understand and maintain the dignity and the sanctity of the parampara. So, Krishna Viraha Unmada. So Viraha means separation. Viraha means separation. So in Krishna's separation, in Radharani's mood in separation from Krishna, Brahma Maya Cheshta or Pralapa Maya Vada. He would speak sometimes erroneously, like a completely mad person. You have to become mad for Krishna. That is real madness. Rather than being mad for sense enjoyment, mad for wealth, mad for prestige, mad for opposite sex. People are mad for so many things. Mad for cars. Some people are mad for cricketers or Hollywood stars. That's madness only, right? One time, in one of the shows, the Elvis Presley, I think I heard, he was passing his urine over the people, and people were taking it as Charnamrit. And after Aarti, the Pujari spreads the Charnamrit, and people were really blessed, Father, they were blessed. He was passing his urine, and people were very happily taking it. Isn't that madness? It's madness only. So we are all mad. Now the choice is whether we become mad for Krishna or become mad for sense enjoyment. So one time someone asked a devotee that until we get a certificate from others that we are mad, we can't go to Krishna. We have to get a certificate. And what is the certificate? That this person is mad. Mad for Krishna. So, in Hindi they say, Pagal ho gaya. This is a time to enjoy. In this time you're going to the temple. You have 30, 40 years left. You can go after 60 years. You can go when you have last 2 breaths to the temple. Oh, there's a time to enjoy, focus on this, focus on that. Right? So spiritual madness is good, otherwise Maya will make us mad. Lord Chaitanya was in the heart of Radharani, was mad for Krishna, Unmada. And know that when he saw a water body, I think it was the ocean or some other lake, he thought it's Yamuna and jumped over. And then when he was unconscious, whenever he would hear a song in Jagannath Puri Gopi Geet, he would become transcendentally mad. He would run to embrace those girls who were singing that Gopi Geet. But then, because of the etiquette, he was uncontrollable. But then his personal servants, Govinda, others would stop him because of the sannyasi etiquette. He was being the Supreme Lord above all these bodily platforms. But being in the society, one has to follow the etiquette. So he exhibited his madness many, many times in his Leelas, which we're going to read in this wonderful book, and others as well. But of course, we cannot imitate this. Some people artificially show, oh, I'm mad, rolling on the ground, or artificially moving up and down. But this is not recently. There was not recently, even yesterday only, Narhari Sarkar Thakur's disappearance day on Ekadashi yesterday, who was the uncle of Raghunandana. I was hearing this class by his Maharaj. So he was the uncle of Raghunandana from the same doctor family and the brother of Mukunda. So Mukunda, when he was the great physician, he never showed his madness in front of. He was also mad for Krishna. When he saw the fan, the king, someone was fanning him with the peacock fan, and just by seeing the peacock feather, he got transcendental emotions, and he fell down from the king's raised platform. He fell down, and people thought he would not even survive. But the king also came to take care of him, to see him, and then he was asked what happened. It was basically a symptom of spiritual madness or ecstasy, Ashtasattvik Vikar. But he said, no, I have a disease. Sometimes I get this fits and epilepsy and I lose control over myself. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. So he didn't say, I have pure love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyone else have any other thoughts or comments? Okay, so we'll read the next verse. 108. Such an auspicious number. 108. That was my room number in my college hostel. For 3.5 years. I lived there. I didn't plan, it just came like that. Anyone wants to read? Yes, Prabhu, Sudhir Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandat Pranam, authorized to Śrīl Prabhupada, text number 108. Radhikera Baba Yeche Uddhava Darshane Se Baba Mata Prabhu Rahe Ratri Dine. Translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīl Prabhupada ki jai. Just as Radhika went mad at sight of Uddhava, so Lord Chaitanya was abased day and night with the madness of separation. Purport. Those under the shelter of the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu can understand that his mode of worship of the Supreme Lord Krishna in separation is the real worship of the Lord. When the feelings of separation became very intense, one attains the stage of meeting Śrī Krishna. So-called devotees like Sahajiyas cheaply imagine they are meeting Krishna in Vrindavana. Such thinking may be useful, but but actually meeting Krishna is possible through the attitude of separation taught by Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji, wonderful voice. So here we can see that Prabhupada explaining how Srimati Radhika was very, very sad when she saw Uddhava, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also feeling the same separation from Lord Krishna. So we can see that, as you explained nicely, some people try to imitate this madness, but only the true love for Lord Krishna makes them feel like that. So I was also thinking, even when Mother Kunti was feeling this separation, when Krishna was planning to go to Dwarka, and she requested Krishna not to go, and she was telling, whenever we have calamities, you were there. So she was in fact asking for calamities so that Krishna stays with them always. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Nice. What's that bhajan? Vishaya Chariya Abe. Vishaya Chariya Abe. Shuddha
Oibe
Habe.
Akuti, Shuddhamana, something.
This starting is Goranga bolite hobe pulaka shorira.
To open that bhajan for yes, got it. Nityaṁ Thakur is saying, Vishaya Chariya Kabe Shuddha Habe Mana Kabe Hama Hari Shri Vrindavana. Rupa, this whole bhajan is the mood of separation. Arakaba Nitai Chandra Korube Hoibe Samsara Vasana Moro Kaba Tucha Habe. Our whole Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara is the mood of viraha or separation. When will that opportunity time come? When will that day come? When will I get the mercy of the Lord? When will my mind be purified of the senses? Senses will be purified from the material desires, and I shall be able to understand Vrindavan. And then my spiritual life will be successful. When will I be very much eager to study the books? So Nityaṁ Thakur, being a Parama Vaishnava, being the Lord left love of Godhead in the Padma river for him, so he certainly was not an ordinary soul. A pure Paramhamsa Nitya Siddha, eternal associate of the Lord. But what is the mood? Whether it's Nityaṁ Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sarupta Damodar Goswami, all the Shad Goswamis, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, our dear Srila Prabhupada, or anyone in the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, their entire mood is, I am very far from Krishna. When will that day come? When will that day come? So a devotee does not think, oh, I have love of God. Oh, I'm a true servant of my Guru. Oh, I am really doing great. Oh, I'm the pure devotee. Oh, I love God. Oh, God, no. No, always aspiring, hankering, viraha. When will that day come? When will I purely chant Hare Krishna? When will I? That doesn't mean that we should not do all those things. The more one spiritually matures, the more one feels humble, and more this mood will grow. We see in the life of the Vrajvasis also, there also this mood of separation, and that's what is exactly happening here when Sri Radharani saw Uddhava, because Uddhava had the very similar bodily features. And he would often wear the same dresses also. So very, very similar. So Uddhava spoke the Bhāgavatam to the gopis at Kusum Sarovar. We discussed that, the 5 places where Bhāgavatam was spoken. So Lord Chaitanya was obsessed day and night with the madness of separation. Madness of separation. Obsessed. What does the word obsessed mean? So obsessed means preoccupy or fill the mind continually, mind of someone. The mind is continually filled or preoccupied of thinking about someone. So, as we discussed, someone could be obsessed with money, obsessed with thinking about some TV star, Hollywood star, or some other thing, car, bikes, whatnot. There's so many things in material world to be obsessed about. But Lord came as a devotee to be obsessed about Krishna. So this should be our obsession. This obsession is very healthy obsession. Gopis also, their mind was completely obsessed. Mata Yashoda's mind completely obsessed, thinking about Krishna, Krishna's protection, Krishna's meal, Krishna's safety. What should I cook for Krishna? What should I make for Krishna? So the more one will read, hear, chant, the more that obsession will grow. Very simple. The more we'll read something else about, if I read a lot about, let's say, a famous Hollywood star, it's very natural that my obsession towards him or her will grow. So again, bhakti is a matter of choice. Lord Chaitanya is teaching us to be obsessed in the mood of separation. This is motivation. And not take it cheaply. When I'm reading one line as it is from the purport, when the feelings of separation become very intense, one attains the stage of meeting Śrī Krishna. Very deep. The feeling of separation becomes very intense. Okay, any other comments, thoughts, additions here? Read one more verse today. 109, anyone would like to read, please? Akshay, Prabhu, want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Ratre pralapa kare swarupe kantadari avesha apanna bhava kahaye ugadi. Translation: At night he talked incoherently in grief with his arms around Swarupa Damodar's neck. He spoke out his heart in ecstatic inspiration. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. When a person is mad, and the person speaks something that's not very coherent, right? Or delirium. So when a mad person speaks, the words, the sentence doesn't make really a lot of sense. So here Lord Chaitanya is mad for Krishna. Basically the mood of Radharani is mad for Krishna. So speaking incoherently, day and night. And we discussed a few verses back also. It is not that where's the word day and night? It's used here, right? Day and night. What was it? Yeah, day and night here. Obsessed day and night. So basically, without cessation, right? Anya vilashita, that verse. Without cessation, pure bhakti. Recalls that verse. Without ahetukiya pratihata yatma su prasidhati anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadina ahetuki apratihata yatma su apratihata. Without break, without cessation, continuously thinking about Krishna in pure mood of separation, and in the night also. So, talking about Krishna, this is pure love. In the mundane, very, very perverted reflection of that we see in this world. People may talk to their so-called girlfriends, boyfriends, all night, right? All night they'll talk. Obsession, material obsession, sense gratification, lust, and love transformed to lust. See what happens. But here Lord Chaitanya is pure love, unadulterated love, which is very, very hard for us to even fathom. At least we can try to understand through the words of Prabhupada. Okay, maybe one last verse. Anyone wants to read? 110.
I can read Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees, Dhanvar Pranam. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Text 110. Jabe jai bhav uthe prabhura antara, she giti sloke shuk den damodara. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Whenever a particular sentiment arose in his heart, Swarup Damodar satisfied him by singing songs or reciting verses of the same nature. So yesterday we read that Damodar Goswami, Swarup Damodar Goswami, was none other than Lalita Shokhi. So here in the pastimes with the Ganga Mahaprabhu, he is helping Mahaprabhu to the act as a Radharani mood and to get the all the, how should I say the word exact, to get the love or sentiments of Mahaprabhu for in separation of the Krishna, who is acting here as a Radharani himself. Back to Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you so much for ultimately all these Sakhis, as you mentioned, Swarup Damodar, Lalita Sakhi, they are the eternal Nitya, Siddha, eternal associates of Sri Radharani, and their main duty is to assist based on the mood and to assist the pastimes. Lila Sahaya or Kridara Sahaya. So they are assisting. Wherever the Lord, Krishna and Radharani come together as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they go. All the Sakhis and the Manjaris, they also accompany. Why? To assist. So based on the mood. So we can also learn, practical lessons to serve the Guru, to serve Vaishnavas based on their mood and the nature. Trying to understand the mood and the nature. Like, it's a great example is the Prabhupada book marathon. the whole ISKCON spirit, the whole Prabhupada spirit is the mood of compassion. The mood of compassion for the fallen souls, that so much ignorance is prevalent in the world in this age of darkness. So understanding Prabhupada's mood, why did he come to you, was to fulfill the order of the spiritual master. What was the order of the spiritual master? To preach this message in the English language, to distribute the books. This was his main, sum and substance of his coming here. He said, I'm not going, Bhāgavatam is going. So if we really want to, live by these verses, then we must try our best to understand the mood of the Guru and the Param Guru, Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya for International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And his main mood is to share these books, because they're not different from Krishna. They're not different from Prabhupada mentioned that anyone reading Bhagavad Gita is as good as seeing Krishna face to face. So whenever a particular sentiment arose, so Sri satisfied. So whenever the particular month is, we have to satisfy Prabhupada with that mood or seva. Like in Damodar month, the mood or seva is let's inspire as many souls as possible for lamp offering, right? In the month of August-ish, the Janmashtami time, the focus is how can we make it a grand festival for Krishna. In the month of December, the mission is how can we inspire for more and more distribution of this holy literature across the globe. Right? So I feel this is very connected. Whenever the mood is of the same nature, we should also be ready to flex ourselves in our mood and mission to serve Prabhupada's mood and mission. And the Rath Yatra comes, everyone gathers for Rath Yatra. So very, very nice. This is glorious. And this is that's why there's so many festivals, so many activities, so many services, so much variegatedness, and so much room to serve with use our different talents, skills, abilities, wealth, knowledge, intelligence. These all belong to Krishna. But we can be humble instruments for this cause. Okay, the last, maybe we'll read this one also, since this is the changing point here, and then we will stop maybe. Yeah. Okay, there's a changing point here. One more verse, and then we pass. Yes, any Bhaswati Mataji want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Text 111. Ebe karjo nahi kichu eshabu bichare, age iha biburi bokoriya bistare. Translation by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. To analyze this pastimes is not necessary now. Later, I shall describe them in detail. So here, Krishnadas Gobiraj Goswami is telling that that these pastimes are not necessary in that context. So he will explain later in later verses. Back to Prabhuji.
Thank you. So yeah, so quite straightforward. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. So basically, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that I will talk about them later, and that later means Antya Lila. Here he's just giving like a brief background of those, just to help us understand the mood, but more details about his pastimes with Swarup Damodar, and that Radha Bhava mood will be discussed later. Any other comments before we stop for today? Okay, Kantraj, Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, so Gaurav ki jai.
Jai.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Kṛṣṇa.